All right, and now we are live. We're live on Radio Zindagi. Yes, Radio Zindagi 1550 AM and 92.3 FM HD2 पे. Welcome listeners. मैं हूँ Ira and welcome to this show, Shapirali Law Show, in which we are once again joined by Attorney Shapirali. Well, this is not exactly a new show. We have been doing this show. Attorney Shapirali has been a part of Radio Zindagi family for quite a while now. It's just a different hour that we're at now. In case you are a new listener, if you're tuning in for the first time, Attorney Shapir Ali is the founder, president, and managing attorney of the Shapir Ali Law Group, which is headquartered right here in California, right here in Newark. He is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, as well as the State Bar of California. He's a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action, and social services, and he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political and the legal system here in the US. He formed his law group to work on the causes that he feels most ardently about. The law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment based immigration and helps clients all over the country. So offices are in Newark, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. So it's whether it's the East Coast or the West Coast, they will have a team to help you out. You can get more information about them on the website, puralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. We're also live on the Radio Zindagi Facebook page. So if you have any questions and comments, you can leave them in the comments section and we'd love to address that. So let's get started. Attorney Shapir Ali, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. New Year to all the listeners, and thank you so much for welcoming me. I say hi to everybody, namaskar, assalamu alaikum, sastakar to everybody, and I wanted to say thank you for being back on 1550 now. Congratulations, and it's always a pleasure to be with all of you. And we're going to discuss, of course, about immigration law. But before I start, of course, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And feel free to call our office if you need help, 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887. So, Ira, anything specific today you want to discuss about? Because I kind of going to try to cover some of the frequently asked questions by most of the people that we get in the field of immigration.
Right.
But at the same time, we are going to talk about, of course, regular issues that is happening, including political, social, and we were going to mix it a little bit with whatever we have been doing. For those who are newcomers, like I said, I've been in immigration law now going on 18 years, and I'm very happy with my work because the satisfaction is to help so many people and to see them happy after you've done that. It's a lot of times people see lawyers as those guys that are very different from them on a different world almost. And I know I'm Martian, I always say that, but the truth is that no, we are like you, but the truth is also like many times it's very hard for lawyers to convey the message because uh, almost they have to translate what is in there. So
Right.
the truth is, what I try to do in my shows, and I've been doing this for a while, I try to make it as simple as possible, and that's why we take live callers. Whenever I can answer the questions, I will answer. If I can't answer, let you know. I'm not going to give you some kind of complicated answer that will make you in a worse position than you are. Or if it is a general question, if it is too specific, then it's good to give us a call at my office, 510-742-5887, and we can actually kind of cover the topic in more details because oftentimes, Ira, people have specific issues and they can't
Hmm.
discuss it in the air, and this is where we can come in and kind of help them on this to this effect. So having said that, now I've been doing
So
the show.
while you were talking about people calling in and taking live callers, let me take this opportunity to remind everybody that the studio lines here are open. If you'd like to speak to Attorney Shapir Ali on air right now during the show, you can call us on 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. That's the studio number where you can call and ask him any questions about your immigration case. If you have a case which is pending, or if you have questions about an ongoing case, or it hasn't started yet, or on behalf of somebody, if you'd like to ask a question, call us right away, 510-657-1170. And we're also live on the Radio Zindagi Facebook page, so you can also leave your questions and comments in the comments section. Let's go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to ask you if there's any questions on the comments, just to read it to me, because I have to kind of, I'm managing, I'm not very good with technology.
I'll take care of that, don't worry.
So I will need your help on that. So today we are going to discuss, of course, last year has been a very hectic year. We saw the change in government. It seems like it's a long time ago, but it just happened. Not even one, just now it's going to go in 1 year when Biden took power, and we know what has happened. We had the insurrection, we had all those stuff. And now what has happened, a lot of people are happy, some are not happy, because while Biden kind of cleared a lot of those difficulties that we had, there are more difficulties coming. Do we have a caller? So let me take the caller. That would be great. Yeah.
We do. We have a caller. Let's see what they'd like to ask you.
Yes, go ahead. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Thank you. I have a question, Tanisha. So my question is regarding an F1 visa. So I have my visa approved for one of the program in a Georgetown University. Okay, the program is something like it is for senior people who are above 30 years of age, who can work and take the classes in the evening. Okay, so this program is also for international students. So that's why I have the F1 visa. My question is, when I am pursuing my master's, okay, which is mostly the classes are in evening, 5:30 to 7:30. Is that possible for me to work for an Indian organization parallelly?
Well, you will probably need the CPT to do that. The problem is that if you just work like that, it can be considered as unlawful work. It might create a lot of. So you need to talk to your DSO, the designated school official, ask them to give you a CPT, which is a curriculum practical training kind of. It's not a work permit per se, but it allows you to work, and it will even allow you to work outside, depending on the number of hours. But just to let you know, don't abuse it. Don't use it for too. But if it is something on the campus, it is easier. But even outside campus, the CPT will allow you that. So talk to your DSO. I'm pretty sure they will be able to get you the CPT, and you should be able to work. But don't kind of overuse it, because that's the biggest problem people have with CPT. And I'll talk a little bit about that after your call. But just be careful on that. But the short answer, yes. Talk to your DSO, see if they can get you a CPT. That will protect you all the way. Okay.
Right. So this CPT is different from the CPT, right? I'm just.
OPT is different. It is optical. Not optical. What am I saying? It's optional training. That one you get after you complete your degree. The CPT is during the time you are in school. So the CPT was not existent that much before, by the way. Lately, it has become very, very common. I remember my days when I was in America, it was very hard for people to get them. But lately, they have been allowing it. But a lot of people have, so be careful. But it seems like you're working for, and it seems you are doing everything properly. You should be fine. But talk to your DSO. Ask them if they can get you a CPT. Without that, I would not recommend. Okay?
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in and asking your question. I hope that answers it. If you also have any questions, listeners, बाकी listeners को भी बता दूं कि कोई भी सवाल अगर आपके पास में है, आप बात कर सकते हैं अटॉर्नी शाफिर अली से अभी. Call us on the studio number 510-657-1170 or leave your questions and comments in the comment section on the Radio Zindagi Facebook page where we are live. This conversation is going to remain over there. Yes, Attorney Shah. So I think this person specifically had this question because the organization that he wants to work for is not in the US, it's in India. So how complicated does that really
Okay. I didn't hear that part.
I think he said it. The car. It's in India.
Yeah, so that changes a little bit the dynamic, but the truth is that it will be the same problem because if you look at the law, the way it's stated, it's as long as you are on your U.S. soil, which is U.S.
Hmm.
jurisdiction, you cannot work even remotely.
Right.
Now, the CPT might get away with that. So having the CPT is important. Although a lot of people think, okay, I'm just working overseas, nobody will know. That's a different issue. The issue is the legal part. As long as you're sitting on your soil, the same applies for H4. If you don't have any EAD, even you're working remotely, it's not allowed.
Hmm.
Okay, so that. So if you get the CPT and they agree with that, you should be able to work remotely with an organization. I misunderstood. I thought he was just talking about a company in the US, which is Indian owned. But if you're working for the caller, I hope he's still listening. If you're working for an Indian company, also the CPT is very important. Although a lot of people will tell you, oh, nobody will know, or it's not important. It is. If you look at the letter of the law, it is. So don't try to go around this. And if you get the CPT, you can even work in the US.
So
So
in either case, he would need a CPT, whether the employer, whatever company he wants to work for is in US or India. He will still need a CPT. It does not change anything.
exactly, and that's the whole idea. Is
Right.
that when you're a student visa for H4, unless you have some kind of work permit, you cannot work, and that means even remote work. So that's the
Right.
bottom line. Okay,
I think a
so
lot
what
of Indians think like that, and a lot of Indians have that question that, if I'm here, even if I don't have a work permit, can I still work
yeah,
for a company which is not in this country? So it wouldn't really matter. But no,
exactly.
it would.
I get a very frequently asked question, and even sometimes arguments and issues because they're saying, well, what does the US has to do with it? Because I'm
Hmm.
working. The rule is that you're sitting on US soil, you're under US jurisdiction. That means you have to comply with the rule. And the rule doesn't put any exceptions for people working remotely because anyway, when it was written, most people couldn't work remotely, right? Remote work is kind of something very frequent, and with COVID, it's becoming more and more frequent, right? But the truth is that there's no provision under the law to make an exception. So get your CPT. That's the best way to move on. And just as a footnote here, Ira, is like, a lot of people take the CPT and they abuse it, and that can backfire down the road. Although many people tend to get away, but if you use the CPT on day one and you're in the same level of education, what I'm talking here is like, for example, you have a master's degree, you come to the US, you do another master's degree, and you take a CPT on day one and you work, it can jeopardize your H1B. I
Okay.
repeat that. Same level of education plus day one CPT equals to a lot of problems. Okay, so avoid that. If you want to get a CPT, I would recommend something higher. If you have a bachelor, master's degree, if you have a master's degree, a PhD. A lot of people will tell you, oh, I did it, everything is fine, but it's not fine. It's just you didn't get caught. Okay, so
Hmm.
the whole idea. So it's not. So be very careful on that because there are specific rules to that. Now, CPTs are very helpful, especially all of us students who have come to the US as students. We struggle, right? So the CPT is a way out, especially that a lot of companies are really keen to hire you because they can pay you really minimum salary for almost the work of a high professional, and that's not really good at the same time for the American workers, but for the H1B, etc. But at the same time, there is so much demand right now on the market because if you look at the statistics, I don't know how true it is, but it seems like we have a shortage of labor, and it's coming really bad. In engineering, I heard that there are 2 million shortage. In manual labor, don't talk
Hmm.
about it. They're not trying to fix it either. This is going to be a huge shortage too, and no wonder we depend on China, right? Because we don't have, most Americans have not really studied to become manual laborers, right?
Yep.
The few ones that exist don't have the technical know-how, and that's what we're facing as a social issue. And this is going to be a problem in the near future. Even China is going to face it. They are already worried that they are going to, because of the one-child policy. Now they're still keeping, people are still doing the same, even if the law has been kind of removed. People don't have more than 2 kids, and what it does, it creates a lot of pressure because you have a huge population aging out, dependent on social security or other stuff, while you have a young population, that pressure is being put on them to work more and more because they have to produce not only for them, but for the past generation. And that's going to be really, really another challenge of the next century. Of course, climate change, I always say, is the worst, but there are many things that are going to happen that will actually affect and that's the sad part. The new generation will have to bear all the burden that the old generation has put on them. And I always say that we messed up pretty much the planet, and those kids have to fix it. And they unfortunately will. This is their challenge. They didn't have our challenge, but they will have new challenges.
There are different challenges, right? So, I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. So, Attorney Shah, while we were talking about the EAD, I had one question that came to mind. Recently, not very long ago, recently we had some changes in the H4 EAD rules. So, it is still kind of not very clear as to who is eligible automatically, who needs to apply. How does that work?
That's a very interesting one too. Okay, this is from what I understand it, and there might be some changes lately after that, but I don't think there were any. But the way it works now, you remember when you file for your extension of your EAD, so you couldn't work until that EAD is approved, right? But with the new, it's not a new rule, it's just a lawsuit that had kind of came back to them and they had to abide by it. What they're saying now, if your H4 is approved and you file an extension of EAD, you can work while the EAD is pending from day one under the receipt. But the condition is that the H4 is approved. And now the problem, and it doesn't apply for new EADs, right? It's for extensions. Now, the thing is that the biggest problem we see in this is that the H4 itself is the one which is causing the problem. The delay is in the H4, not the EAD, right? And now people are getting, what do I do next? Well, one of the solutions that a lot of people have been kind of applying is they go outside, they get an H4 stamp on their passport, and they come back. At the airport, they will get their H4 full. There's no way to wait. There's no need to wait. The only waiting time is to get the stamping of the H4 at the embassy. So one of the other things I tell people, if you have a little bit of time on your stamp, let's say, for example, you're stamping end of February, right? And your spouse, your husband or your wife, already got their H1B extended for, let's say, 3 years. All you have to do is to take that same stamp, just walk out, go to Mexico, Canada. Canada is not that easy right now, but you can just go to Mexico in the morning, come back in the afternoon. They will give you 3 years of H4 on your I-94, because the role of the stamp on the passport is to just get you to the airport or the port of entry. And as from there, this is the I-94 that controls. So if you have a 777 for your husband or your wife that has as H1B, they will allow that and attach it and give you hopefully 3 years if your passport, everything is fine. And that is one solution. And then you just file your extension, and then you can work on your receipt. That's one of the solutions that I've been doing for a few of my clients. So if you want more details on that, you can give me a call, and I will be glad to go over this with you, because this is something very, very important, because a lot of people have been losing their jobs with that lapse, right? You know, it's taking 1 year, almost 1.5 years to get an extension in some cases. That's a part which is kind of heartbreaking, because the companies are suffering, the people are suffering, and it creates, already we are going into almost mass hysteria with COVID. So what happens if you put more stress on people? True. And that's what USCI should have known. And then the reason they're dealing the H4 was still unknown to all of us, but I think it's a lot of political issues, which I don't want to get into, because I don't have any kind of proof saying that. This is my feeling. So I think it could have been processed faster. They proposed a rule which passed actually, but they left it like that. They never really adopted it, stating that, I think that they didn't even state anything, but they're basically saying they don't have enough people to do the work. So now let's wait and see. But this is the solution, and this is the part. The same rule will apply for other visas too. where the filing extension and you have a valid visa, you will be able to continue working on that.
Okay. So before we go further, I'd like to take a minute to remind everybody that we are in conversation with Attorney Shapir Ali on air with us. Attorney Shapir Ali is the founder, president, and managing attorney of the Shapir Ali Law Group. Their offices are in Newark, right here, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. So listeners and viewers also, if you have any questions about immigration, if you have any cases which are pending, especially employment-based immigration, you can definitely get in touch with them. Their website is peeralilaw.com. That's peeralilaw.com, peeralilaw.com. And the number to call them is 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887. We're also live on the Radio Zindagi Facebook page right now. So you can leave your questions and comments in the comments section or call us right now on the studio number. The lines are open and the number is 510-657-1170, 510-657-1170. Yes, Attorney Shah. So you also wanted to talk about the most frequently asked questions.
Yes, before we go there, I'm going to talk, since we were talking a little bit about the H4, we have this campaign going on to protect the H4 visas who have been quote unquote abandoned by their spouses, right? And a lot of people don't realize that people get married, they come to the US, and then they end up by almost suffering a lot. So we are trying to, and they don't really get some kind of protection. So we are trying to change that law to give them something or some kind of temporary protected status. And I was very happy to announce that a lot of organizations now are contacting me, starting to really help us on this. So we are going to give you more details on the next shows, but I think we have one caller, right? Let me take
We
the
do
caller.
have a caller. Let's speak to them.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, you're on air,
Hello.
Shapir Ali. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm calling from India. I have a F1 visa which is approved last month. I have a couple of questions regarding F1 visa. Once visa is approved, how long it is valid for me to enter USA?
Are you calling from India right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah. So it's usually within certain timing, usually 3 months or 6 months. But you have another problem. If your school, if you have a certain date for the school, you will have to abide by that. So 30 days minimum to enter before the school starts. And after that, if you come a lot later, they can the school might cancel the entire case, and then the visa will have no value to enter. So unless you find another school. So I would recommend you come before the school starts, because if the school kind of say you were absent, they will cancel your service once you enter, get into more complications. So it's not something that like does H4 or H1 where you can hold on too long, because you are dependent on the school. Remember, an F1 visa has a DS on it, so duration of status. So you're dependent on the I-20. So if you take too long, you're going to have problems. So you need to talk to the school, negotiate with them if you want to delay for whatever reason. If there are some extraordinary circumstances, then you can do something. Otherwise, you need to come on time. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, one more follow up on that. My school is saying that I can take online classes until next semester. So one semester I can take online classes, and I can join the next semester. Is that for that? Do I have to follow some other procedure, or I can just take online and then?
No, that's fine. The school is, if the school is saying that, it's fine, because as long as you're not inside the US, you don't have to be compliant with the rule of the student visa. So you can take online classes and then come here. The question is that will the school still, you might have to answer at the border when you enter why you took so long. So be ready to explain that and have a letter from your DSO guaranteeing that, because if later on the school back off, pay the school for 1 year, and then you end up by getting 6 months or or 4 months inside India, and then when it's time to come back, they don't allow you back. So be very careful on that part. But apart from that, yes, if the DSO is okay, then you should be okay.
Okay. Thank you, Shaprali.
You're welcome. Good luck. Say hi to everybody there. So
Thank you very much. But Attorney Shah, tell me this thing right now. When you said, you have to explain your reason for the delay at the port of entry, just saying that, these are the COVID times, isn't that enough, or does one really have to explain? Because COVID is literally disrupting everything around us, our daily, our lives.
Depends on the officer, right? And most of the officers are pretty nice right now. They are allowing it. They are allowing a lot of exceptions, to be honest. But of course, if you get an officer who's mean, and that's the biggest issue we have with immigration law, is you are bound by discretionary powers, right?
Yeah, but how the other person, how the officer's mood is, it depends. Your
Exactly.
entry to the country depends on how the other person feels at that moment. That's not
definitely.
even fair.
Definitely. I've seen this over the years. I'm doing this for 18 years now, and I've seen it many times that your life depends on one person who will make a decision. Sometimes they will refer it to a supervisor, and the supervisor will make the right decision, or they will back the officer. So at the end of the day, it is I'm pretty sure in his case he'll be fine because the school is backing him. But for so many cases, many times, I've seen people coming on valid visitor visa, having no problem, just suddenly for some discriminatory reasons, or because the officer is not in a good mood, getting denied. So don't think just because you have a stamp on your passport, it's a guarantee of entry. No, it's not. And it says very clearly on that. Excuse me. Okay. So the rule, you have a stamp on your passport. The role of the stamp on your passport is actually to give you a chance to come to the border, come to the airport. At the airport is when they determine if they will let you in. And that's what controls your stay in the US, not the stamp on the passport. So at the airport, if the officer is satisfied what you have on your passport, they will let you in. By the way, 90% or 95%, even 98% of people they will let them in. It's only that 1% or 2% that gets stuck. Unfortunately, we hear mostly of the one that are stuck because they're the one who called me. Just come in, everything is perfect, right? So that's what we see. And then if everything, that's why I tell people, be ready at the airport. If you have any kind of documents, make sure it's in order, because you don't want in front of the officer to start opening all your bags and everything. True. They get irritated. So if you have to carry documents, make sure it's in a folder that you can access easily, and make sure that you have letters with you, and make sure that you answer truthfully. And that's another biggest problem that people do. They tend to lie because they're scared, or they will just tend to, and then answer shortly. Don't give a whole explanation of everything when they're not asking you. They're asking you, for example, where are you coming from? Don't say, I visited Thailand, I went to South Africa, then I went to America. No, they're saying, where are you coming from? You came from South Africa lately, or you come from other places. So it is something that is not really kind of difficult, but at the same time, you will have to make sure that you have control over your questions. And bottom line, in your case, in that specific caller's case, I don't think he'll have any problems. Yes, already told him it's okay. But now if the service is not accepted, because the service activates at the border, so there's no way they can start the service now, so they cannot shut it down. So that means you are safe while you're in India. There's no rule there. You can do whatever you want. You can do online school. Now, if the online school, for example, let's say the school curriculum is for 2 years, you're doing 1 semester, it should not be a problem. But let's say the curriculum is only 6 months. Then you can't do anything.
Sense, right?
Yeah. So it's a lot of.
Since we were talking about the start date of a semester, what happens? Let's say that there is a start date, and then this person misses that start date, but also misses to inform the school that they would not be able to start at that date. Then what happens? Is that a crime? Like does it have a big impact?
But the school will do the DSO has a link on a portal. Many people don't know that they have access to that. Only them and the service have access to that. What they will do, they will just put a note, and they'll probably return the person from the airport.
Okay.
That's the danger. So if the DSO is the DSO basically works for the government but gets paid by the school. They are there to basically check of any abuses that the school do, because after September 11, accordingly to them, that, oh, there are abuses, so they introduced that service system, plus they put a DSO to watch over it. It's been there since 2003.
Okay.
It was not there before. So, and now you have all those rules, and the DSO themselves, despite they want to help you, sometimes their hands are tied. So this is what we are seeing, and the student visa is a big thing, but at the same time, they give a hard time to the students all the time. So just be careful, that's all.
Okay. All right. So again, listeners, if you also have any questions, we have about 18, 19 more minutes to go. So you can call us on the studio number 510-657-1170 and ask us any immigration related questions, 510-657-1170. Or if you'd like to, leave a questions in the comment section, we're also live on the Radio Zindagi Facebook page. So your questions and comments are welcome in the comment section, and Attorney Shah would love to address those. Yes, Attorney Shah. So do you have any frequently asked questions that you want to cover? Otherwise, I wanted to check with you, are there any change in the rules for the H-1B or green card? Anything that we need to get updates on?
Well, they're not big changes, although they are small things that are speeding up things. We saw what happened last year when we had the big movement on the, not last year, year before, when we had the big movement on the green card for EB3.
Right.
Now, what has happened, a lot of people now who have signed up on EB3 downgraded now want to move back to EB2. And there's still a debate, can they move back? Does the EB2 still stay alive?
That was really 2 years ago?
Yeah, almost,
wow.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, hold on. December 2020, the thing started. So, yeah,
about
we are
going
ago.
Over a year ago. Okay.
So what happened now is that people who have downgraded to EB3 are asking me the question now, they have an EB2 approved, can they move back there? My position was that no, you cannot, because the labor certification can only attach one I-140. Now, the problem that we're facing is that it's not a problem, but some lawyers are of different opinion, and they have good reasons to, that you can still claim that EB2 because it's not gone. So I have tried one. One client asked me to try one. I don't know the answer yet. So until I see it myself, I won't take other lawyers' opinion and give it to you, because I have my own opinion. So the client was not, he wanted to do that. So we are trying it. And if that works, that would be great, because that means you can just move back to EB2 without having to downgrade or anything. So let's see if this works out. And if it does, then it would be good. But I have not really kind of followed online, or because I don't really do that. There are a lot of fake information there. So I don't know if anybody was able to do that. So if any callers was able to do that, I would be glad to hear from them. And also, the other thing that we are seeing right now, the I-140 petitions, now that we are seeing regression on the EB3, EB2 is moving a little bit upward. We are expecting that there will be some people going back to the normalcy of waiting, right? And the waiting is long, right? So what do we do next? Well, one of the options, of course, is EB1. But there are other options that people don't look at. For example, some people are eligible for U visas. U visas are for people who are victims of crimes, and one of them is domestic violence. And I will go back to that H4. I think I didn't finish the mention a little bit later, but I'll talk about that. But people have to do a full consultation, go over things, because there are many options out there that they don't know about. So they just stick to that, what they know, and they want to really kind of force it. You don't have to force it. Of course, if there's a good chance, you go for it, but you also have other backup kind of solutions that I would highly recommend you take. So give us a call. I will be glad to do an assessment for you on a consultation. 510-742-5887. You can book the consultation and I will call you back. So now the other thing that we were talking about the H4, remember I was telling you that, and you know this, we've been starting this petition online, kind of push to protect those who come to the United States as H4 visa holders, because if the marriage doesn't work, and there are many times marriage don't work, that's something normal, and if there are no situations of physical abuse, there's no real remedy for the people on H4. They have to go back. And what happens if they have children? They end up by having to leave their children, especially if they are US citizens, right? And one of the things we're fighting for is to give them something that will protect them until they can get back on their feet. Many of them will move to student visas or some other potential visas if they can, but most of them cannot because they're already struggling. How do they pay school? How do they get things done? And that's really kind of the issue here. And we started this like last year, I think we started, or the year before, this petition. And I knew it would take some time, but luckily it started getting picked up by organizations. I was contacted by few, I think there were a few articles on them on the newspapers, and also it's getting picked up also by I think a university wants to really kind of talk about this, and that would be great because we need support. And unfortunately, you know, we are living in a time when there's so many problems, people don't really look at other people's problems. But at the end of the day, all the problems are here. Even we file small solutions or big solutions, we need to really move forward. One of the things that I'm thinking of proposing is what we call a TPS, a temporary protected status, which usually applies for people who are in danger to go back to their home country, or for example, in Nepal, when they had the earthquake, they issued TPS. In Haiti, when they had the fight, they issued TPS. It's something just temporary, where they give you a work permit, you can stay until things gets better, right? So this is something
it's like a temporary asylum or short-term asylum.
It's a temporary protected status. It's not really an asylum. It's
not a political asylum, but yeah, something on those lines.
Just a protected status. It can be for anything. Okay. Like for example, like I said, earthquake did it, like for Nepal, and Haiti when they had all those fires, they used that. El Salvador had it. So it is temporary, and oftentimes it goes for years, and at least it buys some time for the people on H4 to actually redo their life and actually get back on track and pretty much take care of their children. So this is something that I am going to propose hopefully in the next few weeks. I don't know how it will work because I didn't really look at the gist of it. It just came to my mind when I was discussing this with someone during one of those interviews, and I was thinking, they were saying, is there anything? I said, well, we want something like a temporary protected status. And just click in my mind, I say, well, maybe that's what we can use because it's already there in the law. So we just have to ask them to apply it. So that's one thing that I'm looking at, and I'm waiting for more signatures on our petition so that it can give some kind of momentum. Right. And then we write an open letter or contact the administration to ask them to do something about it. So we need your support. We need everybody's support. I'm going to write a little bit about that. I'll make a video on it soon. I've been a little bit lazy, to be honest. Not really lazy. It's just been like, you know, this year has been so hectic. Everybody, you're seeing people dying. You're seeing friends going through a lot, and you're going through a lot with the sickness, and you're worried about your family. So right. I've not really given a lot of my time like I used to give. Even my radio shows, you know, for a while, I kind of were doing them mostly like recorded. And I didn't want to really get involved with work as much as I wanted to kind of settle things with everything that's going on and kind of come to terms with a new world. We are what they call the new world order, right? So,
well, no, excuse me. We know you've been busy, but excuse me. Yes, we know you've been busy. And about this petition, listeners, you could log on to change.org and look it up. You could look for H4 petition, or you could log on to Attorney Shapir Ali's Facebook page and you could find that petition, or you could go to my, sorry?
No, go ahead. That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Right. And you could also log on to my RJ page, which is my RJ Ira Facebook page, and you will be fine. You can find the petition pinned right on top. Go there, sign the petition, spread the word, share it with your friends and family, get everybody to sign it, as many people as possible, because we just heard, how important it is to have this thing in place. More than we know, people, there are so many people more than we can imagine who suffer because of this, just have to uproot their lives and go back to wherever they came from. So please share, sign the petition and spread the word is all I would say.
Thank you so much. I really we need passionate people like you to support this, because this is really kind of it is a problem, and we can try to deny it, or we can try to find a solution for it, and the solution is not that difficult. So hoping that we will be able to make a change on that, like we did on the H4 EAD.
Right.
So now we're going to talk about this as often as possible. And at the same time, please, if you go on change.org, you type my name, Shah Pirali, SHAHPEERALLY, because a lot of people don't know how to write it. Like I was saying, some write Shah Pirali. That's how I found out there's a place somewhere.
There's a crater.
Yeah.
Speaking
like
of your name, I would like to point it out for people who do not know. वैसे तो most of us do know. Attorney Shah Pirali has been a very, very prominent voice in getting the H4 EAD in place. Having that approved, he has been a very, very prominent name, and he's done so much work for it. So, and this topic is very, very close to my heart as well. So that's why there is so much passion about it. So, and the sad part is most of us would not really think twice about it if it does not affect us or our lives or someone really close to us, but that's what needs to change.
Exactly, and that's one thing I always kind of emphasize is empathy, right? We are
Yes.
a long, many times people will, oh, why you're wasting your time helping this, helping that there's no money in there. I don't really care about the money. Yes, I need money to live, but if I don't do what I do, there will be no real pleasure and no satisfaction in doing that. Right? I do my work, I charge the money because that's what I do for a living, right? But I also have always been, since I'm in law school, before even that, I've always been someone who's a social activist, right? A human rights activist. I've fought, I even almost got arrested when we were fighting the Iraq war. So it's something that is not new to me. And the law school I went to was like that. It was a school that was very much focused on human rights. They built it. The school was built for that purpose, and it kind of give me a formation which is very different from regular law school. And I'm very happy about that. Unfortunately, the school closed down now, but the founders who founded it were very much during the civil rights movement, the Black Panthers and stuff like that. So they taught us one subject called guerrilla law, which means basically we need to know when to fight and when to back out.
Okay.
And it has really helped me in my life. And you will see a lot of times people will ask me how I won this case and this case, because I use this tactic. And it's always worked for me because I know when to push things, I know when to retract. So life is about that. And at the same time, if you don't care about other people, then what's the purpose of life? We live in a community. As much as I like to be alone, I like to be in the middle of the forest. That's my what I do most of my time. But at the same time, we live in a community. We don't live in a vacuum, right? So if you don't have empathy for other human beings, and of course some human beings don't deserve it, I have to agree with that, but at the same time, if you look at the majority of the people, we all want to just live in peace, right? And one thing also I wanted to mention, this is very important to me now. I am really kind of pushing on the climate change issues, especially on the environment. And I'm going to start putting videos on my YouTube channel on some of the work I've done in farmlands in several places of the world that where I have sponsored and worked on land to build what we call permaculture. So I will give more details about that soon, because I will release videos on that on my YouTube channel, where basically it's agroforestry. It's one way to save the world. Actually, we can produce enough food and actually reduce the carbon footprint and not doing a lot of work. I've done it. I've tried it 4 years ago, and now it's running on its own. And I don't have to do much work with it. It's pretty much nature has its own way of sustaining itself. No
True.
herbicides, no pesticide, no chemicals at all, and you're getting clean food. And if everybody does a little bit of that, it will help because it will rebuild what we have lost. One thing people always care about is carbon footprint. What they don't know is that we have a bigger problem because we destroy the soil. And if the soil is destroyed, we are not going to have food. And if we don't have food, all this is useless. You can have a beautiful one, be a beautiful home, but the food that you're getting is not good food, and a lot of more problems we're going to hit. Look what happened when people start eating bats, right? So I think that people, and also the reason I got into that is, of course, it's my passion, something about nature. I've always been very much into environment, but at the same time, there's something bigger that I see happening in this world. Is like with that program that I saw a lot of people. You see, there are villages in India, almost 1 million people living off on one place based on that concept, and it's not costing. They're getting clean food. They don't rely on anything outside. No herbicide, no pesticide, nothing really nothing really bad that they rely on, and they have been able to survive. So it is doable, and they are good examples. And this technique has been there for ages, but nobody really kind of cared about it because we went into industrial agriculture. And industrial agriculture, I can tell you, 50% of our pollution is coming from that, not even from cars. So because it's destroying everything we have, the ocean, the food, even we're polluting with plastic is bad, but this is worse because the chemicals are getting in and we are getting sick with it, and we are going to die with it before we even die of climate change if we continue this path. So this is something that I'm going to also discuss about in my few shows. I just wanted to introduce that today. And also people who know my YouTube channel, please subscribe to it, youtube.com/SharpHiraliLaw. I will try to put as many videos as possible this year. Last year, as you know, I didn't put many of them, but a lot of people complain because they use that. And I think we are almost done, Ira. I just wanted
We
to
are
thank
in the
you.
last 2 minutes of the show. Any recap do you want to give, or anything that you
Yes,
want to say
so
before we close?
the recap is that this is a new year, and we are hoping this year we will kind of get rid of the virus, and it is on this way. To be honest with you, it's not that bad like you're seeing on the, and I can go on and on with this because I see it in South Africa where basically they are barely vaccinated and they're doing well because actually the Omicron helped them. So I don't want to be a virologist on that, but I have a feeling this is going to go away, but we will have other bigger problems. Um, just like in the movie, I don't want to promote the movie Don't Look Up, but the movie is deadly right, although it's a satire.
I watched
It,
it. Yes,
yeah, it is.
it has a very strong message. So total satire, and maybe people should watch it.
Oh,
Let's
maybe
see.
they should watch it, but because this is something we've been doing for years. Since I'm in school, I've been screaming about this global warming at that time, and some were laughing at me saying that it's not going to happen, and it did happen,
Really?
and they never solution. Yeah, I was
Wow.
15 years old. I presented something on global warming. There was no climate change issue. It was global warming, and they were laughing at me. Only one teacher was saying, "Yeah, it might happen." That's it. But I've always been in that. But then later on, after that, I became a lawyer, and things have changed, etc. But going back to this year might be good for immigrants. So hang in there. Hopefully, H-1Bs is coming back strong. There is a need of labor. So if you need help on anything, feel free to reach out 510-742-5887. And of course, if you check my YouTube video, Sharp Hirali, and you will see my YouTube videos. And please subscribe to it because I will upload more good stuff there. And I wanted to thank you all for listening. And thank you, Ira. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tanisha. Thank you very much for being here with us, and thank you, listeners and viewers, for tuning in. Remember to log on to the website sharphirali.com. That's SHAHPEERALLY, sharphirali.com, and the number to call is 5